Hey, what's up, family? I pray that you are doing well. This is your host, Ty Dillon, aka Pastor Ty, and you're watching Unscripted. Man, I got a outstanding guest for you tonight. I'm telling you, you don't want to miss what's going to happen on Unscripted tonight. You know, Unscripted really is unscripted, and so anything's bound to happen. You know, not anything, but almost anything is bound to happen. So you don't want to miss it. So I need you to do me a huge favor. I need you to make sure that you share this with your friends, your family, and them. Go ahead and click y'all know what to do. Y'all on Facebook enough. Y'all know how to share. Y'all know how to like. Y'all know how to make sure that you are being notified. And just in case you didn't know, we're here every Friday night at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. Each week, man, each show brings you value that is going to bless your life. I know everybody says that, but if you don't believe it, go back and watch the previous shows. We're never just getting on for the sake of getting on, but we always want to add to you every time that we come on. We handpick our guests and make sure that they are relevant, make sure that they're righteous, make sure that they are right on point for what we believe that you need. I'm telling you, man, tonight's going to be powerful. Go ahead, go ahead and share. Do that as you come in the room. Just let me know you're here. Just say hello, hi, how you doing? I'm in here, or something to that degree. That way we know that you are rolling with us. And so I'm excited about you being here. I know that you're going to be absolutely blessed, absolutely blessed. And so, man, we're going to get ready to do what we do, get ready to bring my guest on here shortly. This is somebody who I know, man, has something to say, a lot to say. And I ain't going to try to introduce her and all of that. We're just going to bring her on and let her kind of introduce herself. You guys make sure you're sharing, make sure you're doing well what we need you to do to make sure you get this message out to everybody. All right, guys. Well, without any further ado, I think she's ready. See, she was hyped in the green room, so I think she's ready to go. So I'm bringing to the stage, to the platform, the one and the only, my guest tonight, Miss Neonta Williams. Hey, what's going on? All of that. Claps, all of that.
Hey, what's up? How you doing?
Hey, I'm great. How are you doing tonight?
I'm great. I am great.
Good.
Excited. I'm always excited though, but I'm excited, definitely.
Well, it's a blessing to have you on. I'm excited about you being with us tonight. I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to connect with us and to be a part of what's happening here on Unscripted.
Yeah.
I told you to get ready. I told you that a while back. I told you your time was coming.
You did. I thought you was gonna come back and just be like, I'm just playing. You had some heavy hitters on here. So I'm like, are you sure you didn't make a mistake?
No, I'm positive. You're the one to be on. I'm telling you, this is
I am honored. I'm honored.
Yeah, I know without a doubt you had so much to offer. So I know you, and you know, we always joke and say when we met, it's just kind of like we just been knowing each other forever. You know what I mean? It just was one of those divine things. Man, just hit it off. Super cool. Loves her. Family loves her. You know, just became part of the crew. And so, tell our audience, our viewing audience, who you are. Who is Neonta Williams? Where you're from, and just give us a little bit of background.
All right, cool. So thank you so much again. Thanks for everybody who's listening in tonight. And I just got to say with Pastor Ty, listen, y'all need to share this. you need to like this, you need to start a watch party, do whatever you can do, because we have some great information that we want to share tonight. And so who am I? I'm just a girl from Gaston, Alabama. Alabama. Gaston, north of Birmingham, somewhere between Birmingham and Chattanooga, Tennessee.
I might know where that is.
You might know what that is.
Yes, might.
That is. But be clear, I love Gaston. I absolutely love Gaston.
Yes, me too.
Gaston made me. I'm Gaston made. I might need to get that on a T-shirt somewhere.
Yeah, that sounds pretty catchy.
It does. It
Gaston made.
Maybe one of these T-shirt companies are listening in, and they can, Gaston made.
Exactly.
But proud to be the daughter of Alfonso Williams. I don't know what kind of bio you want me to share.
Whatever this is unscripted.
It's right. Unscripted.
For real. So
unscripted. Raised by brothers. That's right. Unscripted. So I'm just gonna go with it. Raised by brothers, just because, I mean, of course my parents raised me, but I have 5 brothers. I am the only girl. I am next to the youngest, but I usually say the youngest because my little big brother thinks he's my big brother. So I just fall in place with it. But lots of family down in Gaston, and I'm just a person who had an opportunity to be an athlete and to understand the importance of education. And so it gave me a chance to kind of, go out to college, be a first generation college student, not the last, but the first.
Right.
And that's a blessing. And then even a little bit of military experience after college. And so just been blessed by the opportunities that God has given me. And so thrilled to now be a resident here in Birmingham. But just an advocate for education, which of course is what we're going to talk about tonight. So we'll talk about a little bit of everything. I see some folks on here. I don't want to miss them. Hey, Gail, how you doing? All the way in
Shout out to people and them.
Yep, and them.
and them. No, you said I don't know which way you want me to go, but it's unscripted. But at the end of the day, it is scripted, because we committed and submit everything to God and whatever He wants to do. But so I want it to be free flowing, like I told you. We're just two good old friends, just kind of letting them in on our conversation tonight. And you said heavy hitters coming on. I really appreciate those who have been on the show, and shout out to everybody who's been on the show. But one of the things that all of them have in common is, I believe, and if it's not the case, then they mean they're fooling me. But I believe that each person who's gotten on is authentic and they're genuine about what they are communicating, as well as I believe that whatever they're communicating, they really have a heart to make people better, who are listening to what they're sharing. And so likewise with yourself, you absolutely qualify, because, every time I see you, you're the same Neonta, restaurant, church, bookstore, library, whatever it is, you're the same Neonta. And I told you that whoever named you was on to something, that they put that neon in there. You got that glow, you know what I mean? So I'm just saying that's why I know that what you're going to share tonight is going to be so vitally important. And so for those of you who haven't shared yet, go ahead and share. Who haven't liked yet, go make sure that you like. Because listen, what we're going to share tonight is going to be so vitally important. We almost got into it a little bit on the in the green room, not got into it, but we got it on the subject, start talking about this whole thing and this new paradigm shift, and us really not knowing the fallout of how this is going. And so come the fall, school is going to be a little different. And so really, what does that mean? And really, what does that mean even for African Americans? Before we get into that, you talked about this. Let's kind of I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm unscripted for real. I'm so excited about getting this out. But you talked about having the advantage of being able to be a student athlete and being able to, experience some different things. When and where did your heart kind of begin to have this burden for education and for Black education specifically? Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's a great start. So, because I think that people in my sharing, folks that know me will be like, yeah, I remember. But then also just in sharing, it will connect the dots for some folks who are trying to find their purpose. Because as you mentioned, just even when it comes to who God has created us to be, we can't do anything outside of who he has us to be. And we were in the green room talking about the phenomenal Dr. Miles Monroe.
Yes.
And I talked about how I just, I've heard of him in years past, but just recently sort of doing this kind of study around him. And I want to share something, and I'm going to get into like how, but this leads me to answering your question. But one of his teachings I watched, and he talked about everything that God created. He put in it what it is supposed to become.
Wow.
And then he gave these examples. And this good stuff for you to preach with.
Over here taking notes.
Taking some notes, because I had to take notes. So it's free food. He said, swim is trapped in a fish.
Wow. Yeah.
Trees are trapped in seeds.
Yeah.
Flight is trapped in a bird.
Yeah.
And a cow is trapped in a calf.
Man.
So inside of all of us, God has already created and put inside of us what it is supposed to be.
Yeah.
So how did I gain this sort of affection for education and making sure that people get what they need when it comes to information around a kindergarten, a K-12 education, or a collegiate level education? It really started with my family. My family, both on my mother and my father's side, we have a very strong family history. We actually still have a strong family history, and all of us do as Blacks, as African Americans. But our family just so happens to still have documentation of a church that we had, a family church. The Central Family Church was the name of it, in Kirbytown, Alabama, which is in the middle of Gunnersville, Alabama. We had a school, the family school. We had a school, and we still have documentation of this. We have documentation of for me, it would be my great-great-grandparents when they were dating, before they even got married.
Oh, wow.
I have letters. We have letters writing to each other, and kind of like this love, and my great-grandmother, my great-great-grandmother, she was off the chain. She was in one of the letters, she wrote in there that the love she had for my great-great-grandfather was strong enough to break an ox neck.
Oh, Lord.
She's poetic justice in this.
Yeah, exactly.
But what really got to me, aside from obviously what was written in those letters, is that they literally had 3rd and 4th grade education. Yeah. And in 2020, we are able to pick up those letters and read them, and their writing was impeccable. The misspelled words were probably 1 or 2, and it was the same word misspelled, which meant that they actually thought that's how those words were supposed to be spelled. Right. But in general, understanding that what we came from was greatness. And so while my grandparents, they sort of grew up like most of us, in our generation, we can reach back 2 generations and find that our grandparents were just workers. They wanted to make sure that they were able to provide. And then our parents were able to, do the same thing, but not the same types of labor to position us to be able to get an education. Right. And what I found out, of course, growing up with brothers, is that, you got to like sports. So I had one of my brothers, Cedric, and I tell him all the time that he's the reason why I'm debt free, because he taught me how to play basketball. He invested the time in me. He took me to the gyms. He, this is back when you had to sign up, to get your name on the list so you could pick your team. Yeah. He signed up. He always chose me. He always would say, shoot the ball. He was always, we would get in trouble for staying out late because he was always investing that time in me. But I knew that on the other end, I needed to focus on education. And my parents and my aunts and uncles and cousins and entire family, we've been just sticklers for education. And so when I got a chance to graduate from high school, and I earned both an athletic and academic scholarship to Miles College in Birmingham, Alabama, it absolutely changed the trajectory of my life. to be able to go to an HBCU, your first semester, your freshman year in college, you're required to take speech. Why? Because when you go home for Thanksgiving, you're going to have to be able to articulate to your family the mission of Miles College. You're going to have to be able to let them know, what you have learned thus far, because you're going to be standing in front of people and you're going to be speaking and you're going to be empowering. But attending Miles also, I took my first flight. No, not my first flight. I went to Louisiana for the first time because of Miles College.
Wow.
I was exposed to people from all across the country. I learned different cultures, all those things that our parents had taught us about. It was a segue. It was the bridge to an opportunity in life that many of us don't get. And a lot of times we haven't been out of our zip code. We haven't been out of 35901.
Right.
Sometimes we have been from 35901 to 35903. We don't even know what that looks like. And where it really, really came from is just kind of fast forwarding my story to
all this. After I was thinking, you're right. You're right.
Oh, okay.
And all my Milwaukee people, 53206 or 53210. And to all my folks in the Tennessee area, 37617. I done lived in a couple of different states. So shout out. So don't think you exempt because that's not your zip code.
That's right.
Y'all
shout out.
Y'all get the point. We haven't been exposed to enough.
Yeah.
To enough. And it's funny. I say I lived in a few states. When I got ready to move, I really began to dialogue and talk with some of my buddies, and some of them hadn't been past Six Flags. And for those who live in Milwaukee, Six Flags is about 45 minutes. It's between Milwaukee and Chicago. Some of them hadn't been past Six Flags all their life. These are grown men, and you start talking to different ones, and there was almost like a fear factor, you know what I mean? But there's a nugget that I like to throw out here, and I've adopted it, but I borrowed it from my mentor, my man of God. Exposure expands your expectation. Mm-hmm. And so the more you expose, then you'll have an expectation for more. And so I think it's by design even of the enemy to keep us in confinement, so we don't long for anything other than what we're used to.
Yeah.
You get used to being in that little environment.
Yeah. And that's good. And we'll probably dig around this a little bit more as we get into information, but sometimes that enemy comes from within.
Oh, without a doubt.
And I don't mean. Yeah, and sometimes I don't even, and in this case, you're absolutely right. It is the enemy, but I mean sometimes just our family.
Oh, absolutely.
For us to be able to experience different things. And sometimes the fear is just out of not so much they're going to lose their child, to the world or to what's going on in the world, but sometimes that enemy, that fear is just, they didn't get a chance to do it.
Sometimes, it's that want to keep you in a safety zone, so you're not let down, and so you're not hurt, and all these other type things. So those fears that they may have, even, and they kind of project them on you, or just, really, baby, don't take all of that. You're gonna be all right. You just and it's out of a type of love, but it's not malicious, is what I'm saying.
Right.
A lot of time it's just trying to keep you in that place, and that, I believe, goes back even to what you were talking about, just going back a few generations, and you see whether it's slavery or whatever it is, but it's a thought process that is confined, and because of what some would say as well, the oppressors, whatever that is, that's not necessarily a person. I believe that it's a system and a spirit. And so, and it'll use whoever it chooses, whatever the color is, so that oppressive system that is designed to not only keep you in bondage, but to keep those around you in bondage that will help. So they'll help you stay in bondage.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, it's not a singular thing.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think it's interesting how you talked about your family generations back and how they valued education, and then how you could see that even being played out in those letters and penmanship and all those things. And I think it's amazing how God would allow you to discover that, number one, in your family, because many of us don't have those tangible things, and many of us don't even have the stories that, to be told, but much less to have something that you can hold and read and touch and feel the texture of, and really, in a sense, travel in time and go back, get those nuggets, and then come back to 2020 and say, now, how can we use that?
Yeah.
You're in essence, in essence, what you're doing is you stepping in the time machine, and you can go and get those goods and see what those qualities were. Now, how can we utilize them to this day? Yeah. I think it's interesting that you value education, and that's almost, in your blood to do so.
Yeah.
And so this is not a one-off. This is not something you're just doing random. This is like in your genes. This is like in your DNA, even when you didn't know, before you went to Miles College and all of that.
Yep.
Because what's in you, what did Dr. Miles Monroe say? Swim is in the fish.
Yeah.
It's in the fish.
And it's so crazy because, as you were speaking, I was thinking about, I remember when I graduated from high school, and one of my favorite uncles, he gave me some luggage. And I was so mad. I was so mad. I was so upset with my Uncle Harold. I was so upset. Because, you're a younger kid, so you think, you look at your family members, you think, man, they got it going on. They got money, they wealthy. I was like, I knew he gonna give me.
You know what I mean?
Man, that joker gave me some luggage, and I was so mad. But his comment to me was, you going places. You going somewhere. He knew something that I didn't know. And I wish, if I had one regret about my experience with life with him, because he's no longer here, but if I had one regret, it would be that I didn't even keep that luggage.
Wow.
I mean, it was a whole set. It was that fabric kind that it was, and I didn't even know, going to college, I'm thinking just take my stuff in some bags. I could just carry my stuff in bags, but my Uncle Harold, he knew that I was going somewhere. So it's like those little bitty things. And then, even after college, graduating, and then I made a decision to go into the military, active duty, 4 years. I met some phenomenal people. One of my girlfriends on here tonight chiming in, Tammy, we went through leadership together. We did a lot of things together. And even in being in the military, it exposed me to so much more that life has to offer. But what's funny is the light bulb came on for real about education when I and I don't usually publicly talk about this, but there's no way for me to connect those dots as to how I really became a true advocate of making certain that kids have access to the best schools that they can. Is when I was in the Army getting ready to get out, I started refereeing volleyball. And I played basketball. So I was like, man, I really need to figure this out. So I finished my 4 years of active duty, moved back to Birmingham, got connected with an old high school referee, friend of mine. I used to call him Daddy, just because I'd known him for so long. Right. And like, hey, how do I get into this? Fast forward the story, I started refereeing middle school and high school basketball. Loved officiating. I mean, it kept me close to the game. It kept me in shape. It allowed me to maintain the integrity of the rules. I was loving it. And so I began to advance quickly. I moved from high school to junior college to doing NAIA Division III and Division II. And what I was not seeing was the great athletes in high school. I wasn't seeing them in college.
Wow.
Even if it was not so much on the Division I level, but the D3 and the D2 level, or the NAIA or junior college, where I knew the academic requirements were not the same.
Right.
I was seeing them in the church leagues, in the rec leagues, and everything.
Yeah.
So when I see them, they like, hey, what up, Miss Ralph? I'm like, no, what's up? What's up? Where you going to school at? And they're like, oh, Miss Ralph, I didn't pass the exit exam. Or I didn't make the ACT score that I needed. And so today we don't have an exit exam in the state of Alabama, and most states have taken that away. But at the time, the exit exam was an exam that you took your 10th, 11th, and 12th grade year. Each year you got 2 opportunities to take it. It was based on the 8th grade level.
Wow.
Starting your 10th grade year. And once you passed that exam, you didn't have to take it again.
Wow.
So I'm talking to these children that were saying, I took the exam 6 times and I was not able to pass it based on the 8th grade level.
8th grade level. Wow.
And so what I knew for sure is that while, you know, being an athlete is not always all of our way out in the Black community, but it is a way out for a lot of people. It is an opportunity. I'm not saying that everybody's going to go on to be a professional athlete, but it at least paid for my education. And that meant the world of difference coming from a single parent household.
Right.
I had a father who was still providing, but my parents were divorced by then. Right. So you have 4 children in a household, and you're talking about a child wanting to go to college and had never done this before. Where do I start? What is financial aid? What is all these other things that I need to be exposed to? But for me to find out that these athletes were not given the opportunity to at least make it to college, when I know that was my bridge. That was my bridge that prepared me to be able to fully equip me to be able to sit here and talk to you tonight.
Right.
You know, they were missing that opportunity. I said, we got to figure this out. And so then I started getting connected with, you know, who you know, Dr. Howard Fuller.
Dr. Howard Fuller. Shout out to the MPS, Milwaukee Public Schools.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
When I was coming along. And so, man, Dr. Fuller, I never met him personally, but I'll tell you what, I must confess that on those snowy days that I didn't want to go to school and he didn't cancel school, I was upset with Dr. Fuller.
Yeah, that's real. That's real.
But now I'm a little older. I see what he was on some different stuff, and he really wanted to get education. But back then, all I knew was cold and slushy.
Yeah.
And all of that. But absolutely, Dr. Howard Fuller. So tell us how you got connected to Dr. Fuller, and then what that developed into. And then I want to get into really allowing our audience to get an opportunity to see the real issues, because I think we have to uncover some stuff tonight. So
we got to
talk about that a little bit.
So what happened was my church here in Birmingham, under the leadership of Dr. David W. Craig, Pastor Craig has always been an educational advocate. You know, he's been one of those pastors that's been out on the front line, taking a lot of darts, a lot of hits about education, about being, moving a strong advocate of transformative educational options. And so he invited Dr. Fuller in to Birmingham to come and speak. He held a meeting at the church. My first time hearing, you know, a man, and Dr. Fuller, in my personal opinion, is like the Dr. King of education reform. So for all the people who are in awe of Dr. King and the late Dr. C.T. Vivian, and even Reverend John Lewis, Congressman John Lewis, who never really carried the title of Reverend, but he was. Dr. Fuller was that for us in education. And so long or the short, he came, and I had never heard anybody cuss in church. And I was like, this guy. But he was so adamant about Black folks getting informational education. So about a year later, I had an opportunity to come on his staff and work with a national nonprofit by the name of the Black Alliance for Educational Options. And it was a coalition of Blacks, from physicians to parents to just concerned individuals about education, and increasing access to high quality K-12 options. And so for this organization, what they were known for is going in and out of different states and trying to increase policies to make certain that laws were written to support school choice options. And so when they came to Alabama, I was hired as a family and community organizer, one of the best jobs I ever had, working for a all Black organization who understood the plight, who fostered my ideas and interests and funded the ideas that I had to be able to engage the community. And so previous work for me, having had work with being in the military, working with HIV and AIDS population, working with the incarcerated population, going into prisons, working with inmates who were transitioning out of prison, I had seen almost every facet of how education can have a negative, or the lack thereof could have a negative impact in our life.
Right.
So Bayo here in the state was able to write 2 laws, the Alabama Accountability Act and the Alabama School Choice and Student Opportunity Act, which was 2 new laws for the state of Alabama for school.
Now tell them what Bayo is an acronym for.
So Bayo is the Black Alliance for Educational Options. That was the national nonprofit.
Yes.
So after Bayo came in, hired staff, wrote those laws, got those laws passed, unfortunately, Bayo left the state of Alabama. And so when they left, all of us, many of us lost our jobs. A lot of national organizations left as well. I, by the grace of God, was given the opportunity to stay with the organization, but I had to relocate. And so in relocating, I moved to Nashville for almost 2 years and continued to do work with Bayo. But in my heart, I am Alabama born. I am Alabama bred. I am Alabama fed. I am Alabama educated outside of my military years. And so I attended traditional public school education until going to college, and attended and acquired went to a private institution and received a bachelor's degree in social work. And so what happened was I came back because there were so many phone calls and so many people trying to figure out, how do we do this? How do we map this out? How do we make these laws work for our Black families here in Alabama?
Yes.
And I always wanted to be not so much be a consultant, but to make certain that our families had access to this information. It made no sense for myself and my colleagues to have all of this information. I mean, all across the state, sitting in boardrooms, the conference rooms, written laws, and then we're the only two people that can literally go out into the community on a grassroots level and make certain that we can pass this information out like sheep food. So we birthed, all of that to say, we came back and we birthed Black Alabamians for Education.
Black Alabamians for Education. Now put it on pause. Put it on pause right there.
Okay.
Now, guys, we're just getting in the thick of things. We've discussed, we hit on some stuff, but we're getting ready to dig in. And I need you to make sure that you're sharing this. Make sure that you're liking this, so everybody that needs to watch this can see it. Even if you're watching this by way of replay, you still can share. You still can like. You still can do that for us, because we want to get this information to everybody possible. This is some pertinent, some key information, and some of the things that we're getting ready to get into right now, you may or may not be aware of, but I want you to understand the gravity of what we're talking about and why this is so important. Now, Ms. Neonta, talk to us a little bit about, now you talked to us about Bayo, and you talked to us now, you've started your own organization, Black Alabamians for Education. Now that says automatically that there is a need for what you do. Let's talk a little bit about that need. Let's try to give our viewing audience just some insight on what you may see at a grassroots level. See, because, you know, if I attend school, my neighborhood school, and I only know what I know, and, you know, I may know it's not the best school, but I may not take the time to say, you know, there's some different and better options. I may not take the time to say, okay, now, why don't we have this or whatever it is, you know? So I'm saying, let's talk about just kind of that gap that's there in some of the areas that are not receiving the type of quality education that we know is available.
Yeah, that's good. So what we know for sure is that education, we feel that education is the answer to everything, right? It's the answer to crime. It's the answer to access to opportunity. It's the access to these inequities around employment, around career opportunities, job opportunities, anything. I mean, really. And when I say education, I'm not, although we are speaking about kindergarten through 12th grade and some collegiate level education, the reality is, and I always say this all the time, that education can be learned, earned, or bought. Yes. It doesn't have to be relative to a formal education. It's relative to just being educated.
Listen, that is exactly it. I love that. And when we were in the green room, said, okay, the platform that we're using, she said, well, how do you do this? Or how did you do this? Listen, I went to one of the most prestigious universities available. YouTube, YouTube.
Right.
And, we're in an information age where, if you have to choose to want to not know at this point.
Yep, absolutely.
At this point, ignorance becomes a choice.
Yes. Yeah.
Because we have so much information at our fingertips and even in our pockets.
Yeah.
We have a library, or, we don't have to have Encyclopedia Britannica. I'm probably showing my age. We don't have to go check out a library book at the library. This stuff is right there at our fingertips.
Yep.
And so it's like you said, however you get it, but being educated and not being educated, that should not be an option. And there's a statement that I heard, and I forget even where the statement came from, but they said, if you think if you think education is expensive, try ignorance.
Yeah.
In other words, ignorance is going to cost you more than not knowing is going to cost you more than knowing every time.
Every single time. Every single time. And it is. I mean, and that's why I say it can be learned, earned, or bought, because a lot of times, you think about some of your first, maybe it's your first time purchasing a car. And so you just like, I'm going to do this on my own. I'm not going to consult with anybody. I'm just going to trust the dealership and trust that salesperson. Oh, you're going to get.
You're going to get back.
Yeah.
You're going to crack you over the head, man.
You paying for it. And
so you're going to pay for it.
So it behooves us to seek out, to ask questions, to find out what works best. How do things work for you? Just like you said, we talked about this platform. We talked about so many other things. I reached out to you like, hey, I'm getting ready to try to do something. I need your help. What is your experience on this? And so when it comes to K-12 education, what we believe is that, every child learns differently.
Right.
And so we believe that, a parent should be able to choose which learning environment works best for his or her child or children. And so Alabama in general, and really across the nation, I know because this is, a platform that reaches everybody anywhere. If you don't know whatever state you're in, I would encourage you to reach out to those entities within your state to find out exactly what educational options they have to offer. But
we reach everywhere, but we know you're Alabama, homegrown, bred, and fed, and all of that other stuff. So give us just a little bit of the stats for Alabama. I told you I was kind of looking through them myself, refreshing myself before we did this, and man, it staggered me again. I already knew it, but it just reminded. So tell us some of those statistics about Alabama and the education.
And so what I did when I pulled up these stats, I actually didn't even pull it down based on race. I just pulled it down from just stats as a whole. And I'll say this: the state of Alabama, the State Department of Education in Alabama, is responsible, and these are the 2018-19 statistics.
Okay,
they are responsible for educating 739,464 students.
Okay.
What I want you to understand, and the audience to understand, is although it is 739,464 students, they are 100% of our future.
Absolutely.
100% of the future of Alabama. And so, we start to look at things like graduation rate. And so Alabama last year reported a 90% graduation rate. And that sounds great. That sounds like, oh, let's celebrate, my baby's graduating. But the real statistic is in how many of those graduates are truly college and career ready. And only 75% of those students are college and career ready.
Wow.
And a couple of years ago, the chancellor for the Alabama community college system reported that 1/3 of students who enter Alabama community colleges out of high school in the state of Alabama, 1/3 of those students start out in remedial courses.
Wow.
So when you start talking about entering into college, and that's just the junior college status.
Right.
I've actually not seen the stats for our 4-year institutions and universities. But what that says is that we have created a system, or we are creating a system of perpetual poverty. Yeah. What do I mean by that? As a student, you get Pell Grants. You get free dollars to go towards your education. If I'm starting out in remedial courses, my college courses should start out in 100 level, 101, right. 102. If I'm starting out in remedial courses, I'm taking 099 classes.
Yeah.
I'm using my free Pell Grant dollars towards classes that do not count towards my degree.
Yeah.
So by the time I have completed those 099 courses, I'm now taking classes that count towards my degree, but I've exhausted all my free money. So now I'm going into debt because I'm getting student loans to pay for my education.
Wow.
Then the question becomes, have I chosen a career field that is going to relieve me of this debt that I'm accruing right now? And don't get me wrong, education debt is good debt if you're choosing the right career field. But if I've been encouraged to go to college and I'm just going to school, I might be working on a degree in basket weaving. Well, no one's basket weaving anymore. So how is that going to help me be able to enter into this career field that's going to prepare me and propel me to be able to one day have a family, take care of my family, be self-sufficient, and live in financial freedom. And so
that's not the way you're going to start that course.
It's not the way we're going to start it at all. And so when we look at our proficiency levels in the state of Alabama, about 45% of our students in the state of Alabama are proficient in reading. That means 55% of our students in the school system in the state of Alabama is not proficient in reading.
Wow.
46% of our students are proficient in math. That means about 53 to 54% of our students are not proficient in math.
Wow.
You've gone to a location, a restaurant, a entity, a business, you use cash money, and that clerk or that cashier does not know how to give you correct change. And God forbid the computer system is down. And the things that I'm sharing, there's no indictment on these children.
Right.
Responsibility as adults. And I'm talking to parents. I'm starting with parents. I see education as like as a chair with 4 legs on it. It's 4 parts of the community that play a role. And not community, but 4 parts that play a role in this child being able to successfully sit down on this chair and get whatever he or she needs. Right. And what is that student? A lot of times we always talk about all the other folks, and we don't talk about the responsibility of that student coming to school, being prepared and ready to receive education.
Right.
The other is the administrators, the leaders, those folks that are making those decisions. The other is the parents. And then I think the other is community, whether it's church or any other types of programs that are in place. We have had, and really this conversation runs so deep. You know, it makes me think about when you start talking about community, then we start thinking about, who are we voting for?
Right.
Who are making these decisions about our children? I have a really good friend here in Birmingham. She's an attorney and she ran for a judge seat, and she works with the juvenile court system in DHR, and I hope I repeat her quote right, but I just love how she said that I'm sick of seeing folks who look black, talk white, and think green. I said, what you say? She said, I'm sick of seeing people who look black, talk white, and think green.
Wow.
Like we look like we're representing our community. But if we as constituents would ever just show up to a school board meeting, if you would ever show up to a city council meeting, you're going for no particular purpose, not when something is all in disarray, but you're just going just to observe. Show up at the state capitol and listen to and sit in the balcony and sit in the I can't think of the name of the room that overlooks the state capitol floor here in Alabama, and just look at our elected officials making decisions for us, about us, but not with us.
Right.
It is so many resources out here. It's so many opportunities. And I'm so grateful that, you brought us on. I know we're going to, talk about the digital divide and what's happening. And there are a lot of programs out here to assist parents, but we've got to learn how to get up off of our do nothing and do something.
Absolutely. I'm 100% with you. I believe that there's a responsibility that we have. It's it's interesting. Some things went on just last school year, and they seem to be pretty trivial to me in the school system. And man, everybody was in an uproar. And I said, man, folks don't get this excited about stuff that means something.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But it was my baby's not able to do this, or how y'all going to stop this? And it was, sometimes it's a matter of not keeping the main thing. Yep. And I believe that makes all the difference. My baby, when she went to kindergarten, they had a little class meeting, and they talked about PTA. Mm-hmm. And they said this. They didn't tell you that you had to be on it, but they said, listen, we have I forgot how many years, a long time, history of 100% participation. In other words, you don't want to be the one to break the record,
Yeah.
But it makes all the difference in the school. And I believe 100% we have to get up off of our do nothing, as you said, but then we also have to stop just pointing the finger at everyone else and what they're not doing as it relates to what we should be doing anyway for our own household as well as our own people. Mm-hmm. So there's a responsibility that we have to take. Even when you talk about Black history and those kinds of things, Well, they don't teach our history and all of this. All we had is February. This is nobody else's responsibility to teach the next generation your history. There's a lot of ethnicities that whose history is not taught in a traditional setting, but they make sure they teach it at the dinner table.
That's right.
They make sure they teach it sitting around the fireplace or whatever it is. You know, y'all gonna put those joysticks down off the game. Y'all gonna turn off YouTube and all of that. Put down those tablets and we're gonna talk. You know, they sit at the feet of their elders and learn those stories or whatever it is. We have to take responsibility, is what I'm saying. And I understand systems. I understand that. I understand the spirit of that. I get that, but then there's a responsibility that we have to take on. That's and right. If we're gonna listen, the cavalry ain't coming.
The cavalry.
Listen, we gotta do what we need to do.
We have to.
I mean, we have to do what we need to do, and know that this is an important topic, and it's much more important than what they're gonna wear to school. It's much more important than if they have the iPhone 27, you know what I mean, or whatever the latest iPhone is, or whatever that is. I'm just saying we have to now reprioritize some stuff and know that this is important, because you said something so key. 700,000+ students in Alabama, but 100% of them are our future. And so we have to value our future at an entirely different place. So, the saying goes this way: when everybody else catches a cold, Black folks catch the flu.
Every time.
So I would dare to say that the same holds true when you talk about education. And so, everybody is trying to figure out this new paradigm since COVID-19 and how we're going to work through this with these devices and virtual this and whatever it may be, in Zoom and WebEx and whatever it is, whatever platform, Facebook, whatever it is. But when everybody else catches a cold, Black folks catch the flu. Talk to us a little bit about just the digital divide, as you called it, and those trickle down effects of what we're seeing happen.
You put, when you reposted this opportunity for us to speak, you put some statistics out there, and I was happy to see your updated stats. I know the ones that I was working on several months ago, the latest I was able to find really was like 2016-17, and at that time it reported that over 300,000 households in the state of Alabama were without devices. But there were millions across the country and millions across the state that did not even have access to the internet. And so
let me read that stat for you guys that I posted earlier. Let me pull it up so you can know exactly what she's making reference to. I got this from EIJ.org, and this stat is from April 2020. So this is fresh out the pack. You know what I mean? And it says this: according to Microsoft, about 3.3 million of Alabama's 4.9 million residents, listen, that's over half, man. You know what I mean? Do not have the minimum broadband speeds needed for video conferencing, streaming at home. That's a problem when you're talking about streaming school and all of that and virtual learning. But then here's what it says: because when America catches a cold, Black people catch the flu.
That's right.
White residents, 82%, are more likely to have broadband in their homes than Black and Hispanic. And so it goes back into that whole poverty and economic thing that you talk about as well. Whether they can afford it or whether they live in areas where it's not available, at the end of the day, they don't have it. And the trickle down effect of that is something that I believe we have yet to understand.
Well, and I think it goes right back to what we're talking about, education. If I start out behind, how can you expect me to even get ahead or to be able to run in this same race with you? But this is where I speak directly to Black families. We have always been expected to do more with less.
Right.
But guess what? We've been successful at it. So don't let somebody make you think that because we don't have it, we can't do it.
That's right.
And this really ties into, for me, our mission, where our mission as an organization is to equip, inform, and empower. We want to get information to you so you can make the best decision that you need to make. But you got to be willing to come to the table, because when you don't come to the table, you're on the menu. And I say this all the time. You ever had, a family gathering and everybody making decisions about Thanksgiving and Christmas and who gonna cook what? And if you mess around and you miss the meeting and you get the phone call talking about you supposed to be making the chicken and dressing. What?
You should have been at the table.
Right. And you hate making a dressing, but guess what? You should have came to the meeting. So they put you on the menu and lined you up exactly where they wanted you to be based on where they wanted you to be because you didn't show up. What's happening with this digital divide is so very true. Alabama is in general, Alabama is a rural state, but there are a lot of other states around us that are extremely rural as well. And so what we find is that we do have a lot of families and a lot of households that do not have access to certain things. But for me, representing Black Alabamians, this is where empowerment comes in.
Yeah.
We have two, and I'm so excited because actually coming up on our Choice Talk series for Black Alabamians, we're going to be bringing in, and I need to connect them with you, but we're going to be bringing in Charter Communications, which is Spectrum, and we're also going to be bringing in Comcast. Okay. They have two programs that they have for the state of Alabama that's called Internet Essentials. And this Internet Essentials program for the first 60 days, I know with Comcast, the first 60 days, the first 2 months are free. The months remaining after that is $9.95 a month for parents who have children that are receiving free and reduced lunch for their households to be able to have access to the internet.
Wow.
And so this is going to be great information for families to be able to get out. And if you're hearing it now, go ahead and contact Comcast and find out if they are providing internet services in your area, because of course they cover certain buckets of the state of Alabama, but in the areas that they don't cover, then Charter Spectrum covers those areas. And so we're going to have two representatives come on and talk to families about that. But the other piece that I want you to understand is just like everybody got that, what we call COVID money, that good government boost, that good $600 boost, that good stimulus check of $1,200. Guess who else got that?
Right.
Every state got that for their education department.
Wow.
And the state of Alabama got, man, why don't I have this statistic with me? I want to say the state of Alabama got about $11 million.
Wow.
And it's called the CARES Act money. So parents, hear me and hear me well. You can and should be talking directly to your school leaders, your principals of where your children are going to school. You should be talking to your school board representatives, and you should be talking to your superintendents to encourage them to use that money towards purchasing devices for your child or your children, and to also assist in having internet in your household. I know a lot of districts are being really savvy about, equipping their school buses with internet, bringing them into the neighborhoods and having them be able to have access to it. But there is money available for your schools, your local schools, to be able to assist with internet being in your household. And so, parents, you need to know that this is available to you.
Parents,
I hope you listen. Say it again. For people in the back.
You got a little homework to do. So this is what Unscripted is about, bringing you value. We're not just getting on to tell you here's the problem, it's mean, kind of belly aching, that type of thing. Here are some solutions. But we have to, as we said a few moments ago, we've got to get up off of our do nothing and do something, take responsibility. So parents, there's a little homework for us to call Comcast and to find out about the programs. Charter Spectrum, find out about the programs as it relates to broadband internet service, as well as Ms. Neonta just told us that there are monies that have been made available for the school system. But if we don't speak up, if we don't say something that, hey, my child needs a device, hey, my child needs some other tools so that they are not left behind and they're not playing catch up when this thing goes back into whatever the new normal is going to be. And so we have a responsibility. We owe it to our children to be voices and to be heard. Because I'm telling you, as a senior saint told me one time, it's the squeaky wheel that's gonna get the grease. That's an Alabama saying, I think.
Get the oil. We'll get the oil. You might have to put some grease on it.
We have to speak up, and we have to say something. So that's valuable information.
Absolutely.
That's valuable information.
let me say this real quick, Pastor. I was able to find, I had to go and retrieve my email because I wanted to make sure. And so this is a challenge to the listening audience. There are 67 counties in the state of Alabama. I have in this spreadsheet that I'm looking at every county, rather every school system for the state of Alabama and the amount of money that that school system is getting. And so if you want to know what your school system is getting based on the city or county that you're in, then you got to type it in to the comments and rep your city. And then Pastor Ty can tell me, and then I'll be able to tell you how much you're getting. But I'll start with, why not start with Gaston City School System? Gaston City School System.
So you have it for the country, for the state?
I got it for the state.
You have it for the state. So if you're watching, and whatever your school system is, just put it in the comment section. She's gonna tell you. She's blowing the whistle. She's gonna.
Yeah. I'm sounding the alarm. So
let's start with Gaston. Yeah, let's start with Gaston.
I'm gonna start with Gaston, and I'm gonna give Gaston a shout out too, because what I know for a fact, because I've spoken to a couple school leaders in Gaston, Gaston is going to have do their due diligence with the money that they are receiving. Gaston City School System plans to purchase devices for every last one of their students in the school system. However, I want to tell you that Gaston City School System is getting $2,326,560 from the CARES Act. This money is designed. I have been on conference calls with the U.S. Secretary of Education, Secretary DeVos, Betsy DeVos, on conference calls, not her aides, but with her, specifically hearing how these monies are supposed to be spent. They are supposed to be spent to close the digital divide. They are supposed to be spent to provide safety in the academic environment and cleanliness in the academic environment. So this money can be used to hire staff to come in to clean the classrooms in between classes being taught. This money can be used for teachers to be able to buy cleaning supplies in there for their classroom. And so there are specific ways, but it's all related to COVID. So don't let anyone tell you that, because a lot of times we keep hearing that it's not enough money for kids to be properly educated. Well, for Gaston City, this $2.3 million that I'm speaking of has nothing to do with academics. It has everything to do with the ability to either get devices, to your point, Pastor, broadband, or for cleanliness and safety in the schools, specifically related to COVID-19.
See how important that information is? See, we've got Hosea 4:6 says, my people, now I'm talking to my people, perish, they are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. See, that's why we're trying to get this information to you. A big shout out to Superintendent Tony Reddick. Thank you for the great job that you are doing here in the Gaston City School system, and it's the staff and administration here in Gaston. But guys, I'm telling you, parents, we got to step up, and you have to make sure that you're doing your part for your children, that we are ahead of this thing. And I'll let you go on to the next city, but I'll say this. I was virtually looking at the city council meeting on this past Tuesday, guys, and I encourage each of you to do that so you can know what's going on. One of the statements that I make is, if you're not sitting at the table, you're probably on the menu.
Yeah.
If you're not sitting at the table, you're probably on the menu. So now with all this these virtual tools that we have, all of us can be at the city council meeting.
Yeah.
So one of the things that they announced was a $15,000 allotment, up to $15,000 that the state of Alabama have provided for small businesses. And then coming soon is a $3,000 grant that the city of Gaston is going to allot for, or up to $3,000 for small businesses. And so I shared that on our page. We shared it on our church page. I tagged all the businesses that I could think of and business owners, because I recognize that sometimes it's a matter of getting the information. Now, how many of them? I had one of them to text me and say, hey, or thank you for the information, I just applied. And so they took that information and did something with it. And I don't know if the other ones did or not. I would like to think that they did. But I'm saying that to say, guys, if we were on here kind of giving you the tea, giving you the good gossip, telling you what's happening, who's doing what, talking about entanglement, then y'all be on here commenting and y'all be all getting into it and all of that. I want to tell you that this is much more valuable. And so that's why you need to share this and make sure that everyone has this information. And you need to not only have the information, but do something with the information. Call those companies, call the school board. Don't just worry Mr. Reddick to death, but I'm just saying, call and make sure make sure your child has what your child needs.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm over here in the amen corner.
I know you ready to go. I'm looking like, man, where does this time go when you getting into this stuff?
I get so excited, and I want to say this too. You know, you quoted Hosea, and I know we always quote that first part that our people lack for. You know that Lord have mercy. I'm excited about sharing the second part, but you know, we perish for a lack of knowledge. But there's a B part to that verse, and that B part deals with because we rejected it. Rejection happens.
I rejected you. Yeah.
One of two ways rejection happen. Either I don't want to hear what you have to say, or I hear what you have to say and I don't do anything with it. So I'm encouraging us not to reject what God has made available to us. This information, you know, our folks might be chiming in saying, "Is this church? Oh, we talking about education? What are we talking about?"
It's unscripted, man. It's what
So now let me tell you, Birmingham City. I live in Birmingham, so I got to tell you Birmingham stat. Birmingham City school system. This is from CARES Act alone. Wow. I'm saying even to you educators that may be listening. I know some of my friends I can see are on here that are educators. You should lack nothing in your classrooms this year. Even if your classroom ends up being your living room that you're teaching from, you should lack nothing. Birmingham City School System is receiving from the CARES Act $13,125,651.
Wow.
$13 million.
13 M's.
13 M's. 13 M's. Let me go up to Etowah County, right next door. Etowah County School System, $1,904,401. Wow. $1.9 million that school system is receiving to be able to support families around academics this year, specifically related to COVID. So for families, and this came up on my radar because as an organization, as a nonprofit, we celebrated 3 years of existence back on June the 29th. I was so excited. I remember the day. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I remember the day we got our official letter in the mail, you know, notifying us that we had received our 501c3. And so one of the ways that we wanted to celebrate our birthday was to have a fundraising campaign to close the technology gap. And what we were trying to do was get 1,000 supporters to donate $20 so that we could raise $20,000 to actually buy devices for those individuals across the state that really needed them. And so what I found out, which was a really good blessing, I ended up talking to the principal at Litchfield and Litchfield Middle School. And what I found out that Gaston City, Mr. Parker, found out that Gaston City was going to be purchasing their devices for their students because I ran into a good problem. I was trying to find a couple of children at Litchfield to be able to bless, and we found out that Gaston City was going to buy their own. And so we had to kind of travel across the state into other areas where those decisions had not been made as of yet. But I want parents to understand that there is funding available for your child to be able to have those devices, although our nonprofit did our part. And so, you know, it didn't matter to us that even if the district was going to do it, we still wanted to be able to bless those households. Right. It's going to be challenging for parents this year. Absolutely. I want you all to know that I'm pulling for you. I'm a cheerleader. I feel like, you know, you are some of the strongest people. And I tell parents that when I'm in the community, they look at me and be like, "Girl, you the bomb. You know a lot." I'm saying, "No, you the bomb. You and 3 children, and you a single parent, or you and your husband here, and you took the time to show up for a meeting in the middle of the week in the community to hear something about education. It's got to be promised on your life." And that's one of the things, Ty, that our people got to know, that what's on you. You gotta be willing. You gotta be willing to go for that, because it's so much out there. So much out there, but don't let us lose by lacking and refusing to get information. It just doesn't make any sense. Let me go down to Montgomery with some of these numbers. You tell me when to stop. I want you all to tell us, you know, what county you from? What do you know?
What county you guys are from? And typically my comments will be right here and I can highlight. I don't see anybody comments on the big monitor, but I see them here on this side monitor. So if you want to shout your county out or your area out, she'll tell you what those resources are. Then let me, speaking of shout out, let me give a big shout out to my wife, who is doing a phenomenal job with our children as well. And
yes, sir.
I'm telling you, she's doing well. She's got them in summer program, acting stuff, art stuff, and then getting ready for this new school year. And I'm telling you, I know that she was looking forward for the COVID numbers to be 0 so they can go back to school. So
yeah, I'm sure. Like
wrap your mind around. But I recognize also that's an investment, and I tell her that all the time, and it's probably a little easier. So it's a little easier coming from you than from me, because she feel like I'm gonna say that anyway. I say it's in you to do. It's in you. She's like, yeah, you just saying that, but it is in you to do. You look like you had a thought. We'll deal with that thought that you had, and any closing comments, and then we'll kind of see what the people want to ask you, and then we'll shut it down for tonight.
Okay. I just had a ooh moment, because as I'm looking at the numbers of the districts, the school systems that are going to receive money, when I got to Mountain Brook, guess how much listening audience Mountain Brook is going to receive.
Now, if you don't know about Mountain Brook,
tell them.
Mountain Brook is it's a nice little area.
Mountain Brook.
Suburbs
of Birmingham, Alabama.
Yeah, suburbs of Birmingham, Alabama.
This is how we know we have a problem in educational equity.
Yes.
Mountain Brook City School System is getting $0.
Wow.
$0. Wow. Understand that these dollars these families are getting is connected to income.
So let me y'all make sure this don't go over your head. You don't catch it, because you may have thought, because we said that's an area more of a high-end suburb in Birmingham, you say, oh man, they're going to get a lot of money. No, because these dollars are designed to provide certain things based on income. They're getting $0.
They don't need it. They're the 82% that you talked about earlier.
Yes.
They're that 82%. And no indictment on Mountain Brook. I'm
no
not
indictment
mad.
on Mountain Brook.
No indictment on Brook. I'm just saying where we are. So all I'm saying is, with the monies that are coming through the CARES Act to your child's school system, I need you to make certain that you are talking to your leaders to find out, how do you plan to allocate these dollars? Hold folks accountable. I was trying to share Montgomery, and then I'm going to let you get to where you close it out. Montgomery school system. Montgomery, $12,491,516. Wow. Almost $12.5 million that's coming. There should not be a child in the state of Alabama that at least does not have access to what you need to be able to attain a quality education. And I know these numbers may be shocking for some of you all that are, like I said, that are educators in the system every single day alone. And so even as a teacher, you shouldn't be fighting and trying to make certain that you get what you need in the classroom. You should be equipped to go in there and teach your students with the information that you need, and we should be able to grow from there. It's not enough time in the day, really, Pastor Ty.
I know it. I know when we decided to kind of have this conversation, I already knew this is like an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of, was strategic to have you on this early before the school year started back. We're still in July, because I have to have you back in sometime in August so that we can kind of pick up where we left off. Yeah. And then when you have this kind of information and this kind of insight, it does need to be given in bite sizes. Mm-hmm. So even if we had more time, we want to make sure that our audience has time to digest it. Yeah. We don't want them to just say, oh, this is good information. I'm glad. We want them to really do something with it and really have that aha moment. So this is really introductory, guys. It really took us an hour to introduce just a little bit of this stuff to you. But we're going to have Miss Neonta back on sometime in August. We'll have it back in August. Somebody said, what's the name of your organization? Black Alabamians for Education.
Yes, Black Alabamians for Education. You can follow us. I know we hadn't got there yet, but I wouldn't want to miss that opportunity.
Oh, go ahead.
You can definitely follow us on all of the social media platforms, Black Alabamians for Education. And then if it's on Instagram or Twitter, when it's the number 4 as opposed to FOR. And check out our website. Go to our website, www.blackal4edu.org, and submit your information so that you can get into our newsletters and receive get into our website. Thank you for posting that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And you can receive information from us and stay updated on what we have going on. We organized ourselves and formed ourselves to be that vehicle to be able to get information out to the Black community. While we are intentional about engaging Black families, we are definitely inclusive of all families, because at the end of the day, we believe that all children deserve a high quality K-12 education, but we also want parents to know that you have to be your child's first advocate. If you are not, who would and why? So you asked me to repeat the website. It's www.blackal4edu.org. O-R-G.
Now let me say this too, because I think this is important, guys, for us to understand that the old adage is true. It takes a village. And so you may not have any biological children, or your children may have already graduated or what have you. I believe we have a responsibility as a community to make sure that this information and those resources are distributed correctly. And what I mean by that, if you know the person next door or down the street, or whomever it may be, someone who you attend church with, or your cousin or nephew or niece, it's important that you get them this information. We don't want to have that attitude. Thank you for posting that. We don't want to have that attitude is, well, I got mine through, well, I'm done. I raised mine, that type of thing. We have a responsibility as a community to do certain things. And this is one of them. Education has to be high priority on our list. And I love, again, what she said. It's not necessarily the K through 12 and not necessarily the college, but we want to make sure that they are equipped for life. That's what education does. It equips us for life. So whatever that educational style is, or whatever the venue is that they receive that education, we want to make sure that they receive the highest quality that they can receive, and that we close this gap, which is, it's a great divide, because it plays out in so many areas of our life. So guys, we have to make sure we take on another level of responsibility, another level of ownership. Ownership. I can't say that enough. That, man, nobody is our problem, guys. I'm trying to tell you. I mean, I get it. Listen. Black lives do matter. I'm trying to tell you. I'm gonna fight the power as much as anybody. You know what I mean? I love my people. I get all of that, but I'm telling you, as long as we're focused on, I'll give you this scripture right here. This is what it says in Ecclesiastes. It says, wisdom is better than weapons of war.
Yeah.
Wisdom. And so that's what we're talking about, man. Black lives matter, absolutely, but Black minds matter.
Yeah.
And so if we can get our minds, that's how so many of our great heroes and heroines were able to do such great feats and do more with less. They were able to do more with less. They didn't have the technology. They didn't have the access. They had to sneak and read and all this stuff, and they were able to do more with less.
I mean, and look, Pastor, we talk about doing more with less, and this is an appeal to us Black folks. Where do you think soul food came from?
I'm telling you, it was
soul food restaurants.
Ingenuity with the scraps.
Man, listen, we got them all. We got soul food restaurants all across the country. I know when I'm traveling, I'm saying, where the best soul food restaurant at? And soul food came from scraps. The pig ears, the pigtails, the chitlins, the ham, all of that stuff was the leftovers. And so, and I'm not saying that we have to have leftovers in order to be able to make it. I'm just saying that we have been capable of persevering beyond. We've been able to take the least and do the most with most.
Absolutely.
And and I'll say this because my pastor says this all the time, and so I'm gonna give him a shout out. But I have to go. But he says to us all the time that because we grew up in that era of the commercial saying, "A mind is a terrible thing to waste." And he flipped that thing and said, but a mind full of waste is a terrible thing to have.
Oh, wow.
So
Yeah.
we got to make sure that we start to empower ourselves, inform ourselves, and equip ourselves with information that can help us change the trajectory of our own lives. If you're a parent and you didn't finish school, it's okay. Be encouraged. You find someone that can assist your child and children with what they need, whether it's through academics, whether it's through whatever the case may be. We've got to be able to position our children to do better. And I love your point about if you're a parent or not, if it's a community, I'm out here pouring my heart out, and I'm not even a parent.
Yeah.
But what sense would it make for me to have all this information and not be willing to share it out with others?
Yeah, well, you're not you may not have any biological children, but trust me, you've poured into enough lives. You got a lot of babies out there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And so you're making an impact like Uncle Harold did you.
Yeah, Uncle Harold.
And here's the thing. Here's what you can set your hat on this. That's what the old people say. You set your hat on this one right here. You may not still have the luggage, but you got the lesson.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's good.
That was more valuable to your uncle than the luggage. It was what it represented.
Yeah.
And I believe he would be proud that you are going somewhere, just as he knew you would. That luggage was prophetic to let you know that you'll be doing great things. And I'm honored that you would be my guest tonight and share just a little bit, guys. We just got a drop of her wisdom and her insight. She gave you her website. She gave you her information. Right below her image there, you see her social media handle where you can reach out to her. And she's a great resource. Now, she's not going to call the companies for you. She's not going to call your school system for you. She's not going to do that, but she'll definitely point you in the right direction and what you can do. And she has some valuable information. We didn't even get into the parenting side and the parenting programs that you do and all the other stuff. They just do so much. Go to the website, see exactly what they do, and we will have her back on in August. We'll have her back on, and she'll share some things with us. Thank you so much for being on with us tonight. I appreciate it. I know this is your passion and your purpose, so you over there bubbling like, no, don't end it.
I know. So, it's Friday. What y'all doing? Get y'all something to drink.
Let's take a commercial break, and we're going to be on here for another.
Right.
But thank you so much. I appreciate it. Hey, everybody. There's something that was said tonight, I believe, that is going to be helpful to somebody. But one of the only ways that they're going to get this information is if you share this on your timeline to put it before them so that they'll see it. And so if it blessed you, I know that it'll bless somebody else. And then there's some things that may not have connected with you because it's not where you are, but it'll connect with somebody else. Again, we have a responsibility as a community, and it doesn't cost us anything to click that little share button and make sure that somebody gets this information. It may be the matter of life and death of a young Black mind, you know what I mean? And getting that information about internet, or getting that information about those monies that are available, getting that information about those devices that are available. And so we want to make sure we get that in the hands of everybody. So thank you again for jumping on. We appreciate you so much. And we're going to have you back on in August. So check your calendar. We'll talk, and we're going to lock you in.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much for being on with us tonight. Yes, ma'am. Hey, guys, I told you it was going to be a power pack show. Miss Neonta, she gave us, listen, I'm not exaggerating. That was like a teaspoon of what she has to offer. There's so much information that is inside that young lady. And then also there's so many resources that are available. We don't have to know everything. We don't have to be a wealth necessarily of knowledge individually, but collectively, there is so much more that we can do together than we can apart. And so I'm encouraging you to use those resources that she talked to you about, and then even use her as a resource. Now, what I want you to do, but if you're going to reach out to her, I want you to do what she tells you to do. And she would love to talk with you and do all that other stuff. But I'm telling you, what's going to bring her some excitement and some joy is seeing you and your child have that quality education that she's talking about. She has a wonderful organization. I believe that it has value that it can add to your life. Hey, I hope you guys enjoyed our show tonight. Listen, we have some things that are coming up in the next several weeks. You want to make sure that you are being attentive to who's going to be on the show. We have some great guests who are going to be on. But one thing I can guarantee you, each week is going to be something that is going to, that you're going to value. Is going to be something that is going to bless your life. Hey, I'm signing off. This is Pastor Ty. You're watching Unscripted every Friday night, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're right here, man. I'm telling you, real talk, real people. It's Unscripted. We'll connect with you next week, guys. Be blessed.